You're tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes. You're tired in a way that lives in your bones. Tired in the morning before your day even begins. Tired when you're supposed to be happy. Tired in the middle of moments that should matter. And you've been telling yourself that this is normal. That relationships require sacrifice. That this exhaustion is just what love looks like. But what if it's not? What if what you're experiencing is not love? It's a slow, patient draining of everything you are. You believed that love would feel like completion. That's what you were told. In movies, in songs, in the stories women have been told since childhood. Love would arrive and fill the empty spaces. Love would make sense of all the confusion. Love would make you feel seen. And in the beginning it did. There was attention, there was intensity. There was the feeling of being chosen, of mattering to someone in a way you'd never mattered before. What you thought would happen. You thought the intensity would become stability, that the early passion would transform into genuine partnership, that the man who made you feel chosen would continue to choose you, actively, consistently, intentionally. What actually happened? The intensity didn't become stability. It became unpredictability. Some days he was attentive. Other days he was distant, preoccupied, unable to explain why. You began to monitor his moods. You began to adjust your behavior based on his emotional weather. You began to make yourself smaller, your needs quieter, your opinions softer, your presence less demanding. And here's what nobody tells you. This is the moment the draining begins. It doesn't start with cruelty. It starts with inconsistency. It starts with a man who loves you sometimes and makes you work for it the other times. It starts with you learning that affection is conditional, that you have to earn his attention, his presence, his basic emotional availability. The hidden truth. A man who genuinely loves you doesn't make you question whether you're lovable. A man who genuinely loves you doesn't require you to become smaller. A man who genuinely loves you doesn't make you tired just by existing in the same space. You deserve to know that from the beginning. Years pass. You're now in your mid-30s, perhaps. Your relationship has calcified into a pattern that neither of you actively chose, but both of you maintain. You've learned the unspoken rules. His stress is important. Your stress is complaining. His work schedule cannot be interrupted. Your work schedule is flexible. His friends are essential. Your friendships are optional. His opinions are facts. Your opinions are feelings. You've internalized a hierarchy where his needs naturally outrank yours. Not because he said it explicitly, but because every time you tried to assert your own needs, there was friction, criticism, the suggestion that you were being selfish, demanding, unreasonable. So you stopped asking. You stopped needing. You made yourself a support system for his life and called it love. What you thought would happen. You thought that if you gave enough, sacrificed enough, made yourself useful enough, eventually he would see how much you deserved. Eventually he would step up and prioritize you the way you prioritized him. What actually happened? The more you gave, the more was expected. The more you sacrificed, the less he noticed the sacrifice. You became invisible not because he didn't see you, but because he saw you as a resource, something that was there to serve his needs, that didn't require reciprocal care. And the cruelest part, you began to believe this was normal. You looked around at other women, your friends, your mother, women in your life, and you saw the same pattern. All of you exhausted. All of you prioritizing someone else's life. All of you acting as though this was the natural order of relationships. So you stopped questioning it. You normalized it. You made yourself smaller, quieter, less demanding. The hidden truth. A relationship that requires you to disappear in order to function is not a relationship. It's an arrangement where you provide free emotional labor, domestic labor, sexual labor, and receive gratitude as payment. Gratitude is not love. Gratitude is what someone offers when they've received something they didn't have to earn. Nobody tells women this, because if women knew this, everything would change. By your 40s, you've been doing this so long that you don't even notice it anymore. You manage his emotions. When he's upset, you know exactly which words will calm him. Which gestures will soothe him? Which silences will give him space without abandoning him? You've become fluent in his emotional language in a way that he's never bothered to learn yours. You remember details about his life that matter to him, his work projects, his friend drama, his health concerns. And you've noticed that he remembers very little about yours. Not because he doesn't love you, but because he doesn't have to. You manage the emotional infrastructure. He just lives inside it. What you thought would happen. You thought that eventually he would see how much energy this takes, that he would become grateful, that he would reciprocate, that he would learn your emotional language, remember your concerns, manage your feelings the way you manage his. What actually happened? He became more comfortable, not more grateful, more comfortable, more entitled to your emotional labor, more certain that your role was to manage him while he managed his own life. And you became more tired, more resentful, more angry at him for not being what you needed, and more angry at yourself for not being able to make him be what you needed. This is when many women begin to question their sanity, because you're giving everything and receiving nothing, and the world is telling you that this is what love looks like. The hidden truth. Emotional labor is work. It's real work. It requires energy, attention, and emotional intelligence. And when that labor is one-directional, when you're giving it and not receiving it, you're not in a relationship. You're at a job, except you don't get paid, and you can't quit. There's a moment, it comes at different times for different women, when you realize that you don't know who you are anymore. You look in the mirror, and you see a woman whose opinions are softer, whose voice is quieter, whose desires have been so thoroughly sublimated that you can barely remember what you wanted before you learned to want what he wanted. You've organized your entire life around someone else's comfort. Your career decisions, your friendships, your family relationships, all of them have been shaped by the question, will this upset him? Will this interfere with his needs? Will this make him feel neglected? And somewhere in that process, you disappeared. Not dramatically, not all at once, but gradually, cell by cell, you became less present. You became less real. You became a supporting character in your own life. What you thought would happen. You thought that recognizing this pattern would be the beginning of change, that awareness would lead to action, that you would assert yourself, and he would finally understand what he was losing. What actually happened? When you started to assert yourself, when you started to ask for what you needed, to set boundaries, to reclaim some of the space you'd surrendered, something shifted. He became angry, or distant, or he cried and said you were being cruel, or he promised to change and then slipped back into old patterns within weeks, and you faced a choice. Accept that the relationship required your continued disappearance, or leave. And leaving meant admitting that you'd wasted years, that you'd sacrificed yourself for someone who was never going to see you as worthy of equal care, that the life you'd built was built on a foundation of illusion. The hidden truth. The moment you become aware of your own disappearance is the moment you have to choose. Do you want to be invisible, or do you want to be real? And that choice is the loneliest choice a woman can make. Because choosing to be real means potentially losing everything. The relationship, the life you've built, the identity you've constructed. But here is what no one tells you. You're already losing it. You're losing yourself day by day, choice by choice, by staying. Between minutes 12 and 14, everything shifts. Because you finally understand something that changes how you see the entire relationship. The person you're with is not incapable of love. He's not emotionally unavailable by accident. He's not overwhelmed by work or stress or circumstances beyond his control. He simply doesn't prioritize you the way you prioritize him. And he doesn't have to, because you've shown him through years of behavior that you will accept whatever he offers, that you will manage the emotional labor, that you will disappear if necessary to keep him comfortable. He's not broken. The system is working perfectly for him. You've spent years thinking that if you just love harder, sacrifice more, become smaller, eventually he will see your worth. But he already sees your worth. He's not confused about how much you do for him. He's not unaware of your sacrifice. He simply made the calculation that what he receives from you is worth more than what he would have to give back in return. And once you understand that, Once you see that this is not a failure of love, but a success of a system that benefits him, everything changes. Because now you're not trying to fix someone who is broken. You're not trying to love someone into being better. You're recognizing that you're in a transaction, and the terms are no longer acceptable to you. You are not wrong for being tired. You are not wrong for wanting to be prioritized. You are not wrong for expecting reciprocity. You are not wrong for needing to be seen, valued, and chosen, actively and consistently. The system that told you to disappear is wrong. The culture that convinced you that love requires your self-erasure is wrong. The people who suggested that your exhaustion was your own fault, that you were being too demanding, too needy, too much, they were wrong. You deserve a relationship where your needs are not negotiable. Your voice is not quieter than his. Your emotional labor is not expected to be free. Your presence is not conditional. Your worth is not measured by how much you give. You deserve to exist in your own life as a full person, not a supporting character. And right now, I want you to sit with this question. What would change if you truly believed you deserved better? Not in an abstract way, but concretely. What would you do differently? What would you stop accepting? What would you start asking for? Write your answer in the comments. Because your answer is the beginning of everything. And if you resonated with this video, if you saw yourself reflected in these words, I want you to know that there's more. In our next video, we're going to talk about what happens when you finally decide that you deserve better. We're going to talk about the actual steps that women take to reclaim themselves. You're not alone in this. And you're not crazy for feeling what you're feeling. You just deserve better.